Ah, Charlie Chaplin, the man who invented comedy and controversy. Hollywood's first superstar, and maybe its first scandal magnet. This dude was banned from America. He roasted dictators, lost a lookalike contest to himself. This guy didn't just make movies, he made drama an Olympic sport. So grab your tiny hat and get ready for everything wrong with Charlie Chaplin. Sorry to interrupt, but if Chaplin can make comedy without saying a word, you can hit a button without thinking twice. Thanks! Worst lookalike ever. Imagine being so bad at being yourself that you lose a contest as yourself. That's exactly what happened to Charlie Chaplin in the 1910s when he entered a Chaplin lookalike contest in San Francisco. And didn't even make the finals, not even a participation trophy. To be fair, his competition had one unfair advantage. They actually smiled. Chaplin's whole brand was sad orphan energy in a tiny hat and a freaky mustache. But this was peak Chaplin fame. The dude was everywhere. Silent film superstar, fashion icon, international legend, but apparently just not convincing enough as guy pretending to be Charlie Chaplin. I mean, how hard could it be? Waddle around, twirl your cane, look mildly depressed. You invented this shtick, man. Maybe this was early foreshadowing. Turns out the one role Chaplin struggled with most was being a decent version of himself. Hollywood's worst dating habit. While Charlie Chaplin was a comedic genius and filmmaking legend, he also was an absolute disaster when it came to women, or more accurately, young girls. It all started in 1918 when 29-year-old Chaplin married 16-year-old Mildred Harris after she thought she was pregnant. Well, that was a false alarm, but did that stop Chaplin? Of course not. In 1924, history repeated itself when 35-year-old Chaplin got 16-year-old Lita Gray pregnant for real. Her family basically shoved him down the aisle so fast he probably slid there in his little tramp shoes. By 1936, Chaplin finally showed some restraint by marrying 22-year-old Paulette Goddard. She was practically ancient by his standards. And just when everyone thought he might have outgrown his high school dating phase, 1943 rolled around. Chaplin, now 54, married 18-year-old Una O'Neill, whose dad, famous playwright Eugene O'Neill, immediately disowned her like he was trying to speedrun Parent of the Year. Let's be honest, Chaplin wasn't looking for love. He was looking for someone who still needed permission to stay out past 9 p.m. Banned from America. Nothing quite says thank you for the memories like getting banned from the country where you built your entire career. In 1952, while traveling to London, Chaplin found out America had basically ghosted him. Hard! He wasn't allowed back in. Officially, it was about moral character. A fancy way of saying, stop marrying teenagers, dude. Unofficially, it was the cherry on top of a decade-long political smear campaign. Chaplin's response? Well, he shrugged, bought a mansion in Switzerland, and kept making movies. America's response? They kinda pretended he didn't exist for 20 years. No awards, no tributes, not even a sad little Hollywood star. Chaplin went from the face of silent film to persona non grata faster than you can say Red Scare. Honestly, it's impressive. Few people have managed to cancel themselves harder than Chaplin did. And he didn't even need Twitter. The baby daddy plot twist. Welcome to Charlie Chaplin's life in the 1940s, also known as when karma hit like a freight train. Actress Joan Barry sued Chaplin for paternity, claiming he was the father of her child. Sounds juicy, right? Except modern science, also known as blood tests, proved Chaplin wasn't the dad. Case closed? Oh no! This was 1940s America, where being an accused communist and serial teenage dater meant facts were just suggestions. The judge basically told Chaplin, man, you're rich, people hate you, and honestly, we're tired of your scandals. Pay up. And he did. Chaplin became the only man in history to lose a paternity case after being proven innocent. Imagine Maury Povich yelling, "You are not the father," only for the judge to reply, "Yeah, but you look like trouble." Moral of the story, don't mix fame, politics, and your dating pool with your employee list. It turns out Chaplin wasn't just bad at relationships. He was also undefeated champion of the world's worst courtroom plot twist. FBI's favorite soap opera. If you think your ex is petty, wait till you meet J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI director absolutely hated Charlie Chaplin, and I mean hated. Not because Chaplin was a criminal mastermind or some secret spy. No, it was way worse. Chaplin had opinions, political ones, left-leaning ones. In the middle of Cold War paranoia, that basically made him the Joker. Hoover ordered a 2,000-page FBI file on Chaplin, a document so long it probably had chapters, footnotes, and a dramatic epilogue. They dug into everything: his politics, his love life, his alleged communist sympathies, even his shoe size. Okay, maybe not that last one, but they were obsessed. The FBI treated Chaplin like Netflix treats true crime: maximum creep mode, minimum chill. In the 1940s, America making people laugh was fine, unless you made the wrong people nervous. The Mustache Mystery. You know your life is weird when people are arguing over whether you inspired Adolf's facial hair. That's right. Before the German dictator made the toothbrush mustache the most cursed look in history, Charlie Chaplin was already rocking it on screen as the Tramp. Chaplin made it famous in the 1910s. Cute, quirky, and perfect for exaggerated comedy. Then along came Adolf in the 1920s like, nice mustache, I'll ruin that forever. To this day, historians still debate who copied who. Did Adolf steal Chaplin's look? Or was it just a tragic coincidence that the world's worst dictator happened to pick the same facial accessory as the world's most famous clown? Either way, Chaplin definitely won the style war, mostly because his mustache didn't come with war crimes. Unfortunately, thanks to history, neither of them will ever be on a Gillette commercial. The Drunk Tramp. You know what really adds class to a glamorous Hollywood premiere? The star of the show showing up absolutely sloshed. In the 1920s, Charlie Chaplin, beloved silent film genius, king of physical comedy, decided words were overrated, probably because he couldn't say them properly. At one of his own film premieres, Chaplin got up to give a speech and immediately proved why he was better off in silent films. Slurring, stumbling, and mumbling his way through whatever heartfelt message he thought he was delivering, he turned a black tie event into an unintentional comedy roast of himself. Audience reactions ranged from polite horror to secondhand embarrassment to full-on laughter. The man revolutionized cinema, but apparently forgot to invent self-control. Classic Chaplin, master of timing, legend of physical comedy, and absolute amateur at knowing when to put down the champagne glass. The Great Dictator. Okay, so picture this. It's 1940. The world is falling apart. A certain angry little guy with a terrible mustache is causing chaos in Europe, and most of Hollywood is like, yeah, not our problem. But not Charlie Chaplin. Nope. He looked at the biggest villain in the world and basically said, I'm gonna roast this dude in front of everyone. And that's exactly what The Great Dictator was. A comedy movie that straight up made fun of one of history's scariest people. Chaplin didn't just clown around either. He played both a kind, innocent barber and the ridiculous, power-hungry dictator. And at the end, he gave one of the most powerful speeches ever put in a movie. All about kindness, freedom, and standing up to bullies. The Great Dictator was a massive hit with audiences and became Chaplin's most successful movie ever. Modern critics call it one of the greatest comedies of all time. A historic masterpiece of satire that proved comedy could do way more than just make people laugh. Then, in 1947, Chaplin was sued for allegedly stealing the Great Dictator idea, even though his brother made a similar Barber and Ruler movie back in 1921, and settled for $95,000 while still claiming he wrote it himself. 12 minutes of clapping, and he said nothing. By 1972, Hollywood had finally realized that maybe exiling its most famous star wasn't the best look. So the Academy invited Charlie Chaplin back to give him an honorary Oscar. Chaplin stepped on stage, basked in a full 12-minute standing ovation, and said absolutely nothing. This was less of a speech and more of a social experiment. Let's see how long I can make these people clap before they realize I'm never forgiving them. After 2 decades of being treated like cinematic Voldemort, Chaplin had no interest in playing nice. No long-winded acceptance, no fake humility, just silence. Honestly, in an industry full of ego-driven speeches, this was pure art. Chaplin didn't just win an Oscar, he won the world championship of holding a grudge with class. No citizenship, no chill. Despite living in the US for over 40 years, Charlie Chaplin never became an American citizen, which during the Cold War was basically a confession of treason. For the land of the free, America sure didn't appreciate free-thinking immigrants. Chaplin's reason was pretty simple. Why would he swear loyalty to a country that thought modern times was communist propaganda? Instead, he lived in Beverly Hills, made millions, married American starlets, revolutionized comedy, but never took the citizenship plunge. The government saw this as a huge red flag. Why won't you commit to us, Charlie? Are we not good enough for you? Chaplin's refusal made him the Hollywood equivalent of the guy who dates someone for a decade but won't meet their parents. Well, America became the clingy ex who eventually packed his bags for him. A movie with the wrong kind of satire. Imagine being America's favorite funny guy, then casually dropping a movie about a serial killer who marries rich old ladies and murders them for money. Yeah, that's exactly what Charlie Chaplin did in 1947 with Monsieur Verdoux. And let's just say, audiences were not laughing. This wasn't the goofy little tramp. This was grandma's about to get poisoned dark energy. People walked into the theater expecting comedy, and walked out wondering if Chaplin needed serious therapy. On top of that, America was already kinda over him. Messy divorces, underage girlfriends, FBI watching his every move. So, releasing a murder-for-profit comedy? Not the best PR move. The movie bombed hard. Boycotts, bad press, and empty theaters. Chaplin called it satire. America called it no thanks. Dad of the year? Not. For a guy who spent his career playing lovable father figure types on screen, Charlie Chaplin in real life was more ghost dad than world's greatest dad. After a few disastrous marriages, Chaplin had several children. And then kind of forgot they existed, especially the ones from his earlier relationships. After bitter divorces, ugly custody battles, and tabloid drama that could fill a whole season of reality TV, Chaplin kept his distance. And by distance, I mean new wife, new kids, new country. Good luck with life, folks. And while his younger kids with Una O'Neill got the full family man version of Chaplin, the older ones mostly got a dad-shaped shadow. Turns out, behind every Hollywood legend is a list of very awkward family reunions that probably never happened. Obsessive Perfectionism. Charlie Chaplin's relentless pursuit of perfection often manifested in extreme and tyrannical directing methods. During the production of City Lights, he notoriously demanded 342 takes for a single scene with actress Virginia Cherrill, pushing her to the brink of exhaustion. Chaplin's approach was characterized by a lack of a fixed plan, relying instead on trial and error to achieve the desired emotional impact. This method not only led to excessive shooting ratios, but also created a tense and oppressive atmosphere on set, with Chaplin exerting complete control over every aspect of the production. His insistence on actors mimicking his exact movements and his personal involvement in editing underscored his domineering presence, often leaving co-stars feeling more like puppets than collaborators. Such obsessive behavior, while contributing to cinematic masterpieces, also highlighted the darker aspects of Chaplin's directorial style, where artistic brilliance came at the cost of others' well-being. Rich guy problems. Charlie Chaplin wasn't just famous, he was insanely rich. At the height of his career, Chaplin was worth about $50 million. And this wasn't your regular celebrity paycheck. This was 1920s money. Adjusted for today, that's basically close to a billionaire. But with that kind of cash comes a not-so-friendly face at your door: the IRS. America had introduced new income taxes after the war, and Chaplin, with his million-dollar movie deals, was basically a glowing target. His brother Sidney handled his money and did what any rich person does when taxes show up. He got creative. We're talking real estate tax shelters, fake business expenses, stashing cash in friends' accounts, and the ultimate rich guy classic, Swiss bank accounts. Eventually, the IRS caught on. They hit Chaplin with audits, tax liens, and settlements that cost him hundreds of thousands. which would easily be millions today. And after one final tax dispute in 1951, Chaplin didn't even wait around. He quietly boarded a ship with his family, left the US, and never came back. The guy who made movies about the struggles of the working class ended his life chilling in a Swiss mansion surrounded by millionaires. Even his corpse had drama. You know your life was insane when the scandals don't even stop after you die. In 1978, decades after Charlie Chaplin passed away, two guys in Switzerland looked at his grave and thought, "You know what would make us rich? Grave robbing." So they dug up Chaplin's body, stole it like it was the world's worst action movie heist, and held it for ransom. Yes, they literally tried to shake down Chaplin's widow for cash in exchange for her dead husband. Classy. The police caught them pretty quickly, because apparently grave-robbing geniuses aren't great at staying low-key. And Chaplin's body was recovered and reburied, this time in a heavily reinforced grave, because apparently being a global icon means you don't even get to rest in peace without a security upgrade. Even in death, Chaplin was still attracting weirdos. Nobody knew how broken Chaplin really was. You know, for all the laughs Charlie Chaplin gave the world, the guy was living in his own personal horror movie. He grew up watching his mother struggle with severe mental illness, psychotic breakdowns, being in and out of asylums, and that stuff sticks with you. Chaplin was terrified he'd end up the same way. And honestly, he kind of spiraled. People close to him said he'd go through these intense mood swings. He'd disappear and isolate himself for weeks, avoiding everyone. And then, out of nowhere, he'd flip and start talking nonstop for hours like he hadn't spoken to a human being in years. It was like he was stuck in his own head, battling paranoia and fear that everyone was out to get him. Which, to be fair, sometimes they kinda were. Fame didn't break Chaplin. It just turned up the volume on what was already there. And there you have it. The wild, messy, and absolutely unforgettable life of Charlie Chaplin, proof that even a chaotic, scandal-ridden genius can change the world with a tiny hat and a funny walk. What do you think of Charlie Chaplin? Comedy legend or walking red flag? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.